Today is a very important day. I'll explain. But let me also make a confession that when I was almost coming here, I heard a very bad news about a friend who was struggling with life and death. Suddenly had a problem in the ICU in Chicago. So I was very unsettled and I was trying to collect myself. But I am also saying this because what I'm going to talk about today is also very important to me. I have been reading Ikram Sehgal Saab for a number of years. He has been an intellectual mentor. I've been publishing him as well because I'm a publisher as well. The way we will go ahead is that Ikram Sahab had cultivated friends, influential opinion makers all across the world, in this country, all across the world. And they have also sent their messages. So we'll play those video messages. I'll briefly mention their profile as well. And then as we go along, I will also request the speakers from here. You can see a very majestic galaxy of speakers over here. So first of all, let me play the comment and the message from His Highness Sheikh Nahyan bin Mubarak Al Nahyan, who is a senior cabinet member and Minister of Tolerance and Coexistence in the UAE. It doesn't need any introduction for those who are familiar with international relations. You can also see his profile over here. And I would request his message to be played here. Thank you.
The very best way to celebrate the publication of Ikram Sehgal's life story and of his contributions to public life over the past 40 years would be to read his remarkable book that is being launched today. The book clearly signifies what we all know about Ikram's dedication, commitment, common sense, and generosity of spirit. His contributions to public discourse and discussions of important national issues that are displayed in this book are a reflection of his hard work, loyalty, and commitment to Pakistan and its people. Ikram is a very close friend. Actually, more than that, he is a brother and is one of the most accomplished and dedicated people I know. I have come to value his achievements and his counsel. As a member of the board of directors at Bank al-Falah, he provided sage advice and incisive observations. Even more important, he was always a reliable moral compass as well as an advocate for societal progress and human welfare in his beloved country. As the dedications of the various volumes in the book show, he is truly inspired by his deep love for his country, for his family, for his mentors, and for his friends and colleagues alike. We naturally praise Ikram Sehgal for his great success throughout his life. Ikram has marshaled his education, his experience, his intellect, and his character to produce work of the highest quality. We also appreciate Ikram's understanding of Pakistan's national aspirations, as is clearly evident in the various articles of this book. He has witnessed the country's successful quest to become a truly global force for progress, not only a center for finance, business, education, technology, and culture, but also a nurturing source of innovation and creativity that promises to benefit the whole world. Ikram, my dear brother, I know what a commitment you have made to your beloved country over your lifetime. I'm honored to have this opportunity to pay tribute to you. You have my highest regards and sincerest gratitude for the excellent work you have done. In my opinion, this book will inspire readers everywhere On behalf of everyone assembled here today, I thank you for this compilation of the articles you have written over the last 40 years that tell your story and represent a sterling credit to you and to Pakistan itself. I am confident that this book will help to promote knowledge and pride in Pakistan and its great people. Your contributions will also encourage, sustain, and continued efforts to explore and preserve Pakistan's great history, heritage, and traditions of dialogue and cooperation for a common national cause. Congratulations on the publication of this interesting and valuable book.
You just heard a message from His Highness Nahyan bin Mubarak Al Nahyan, who is a senior cabinet member and Minister of Tolerance and Coexistence, and you might have noticed that he used the word brother for Ikram Sehgal. And the reason is this, that Ikram Sehgal has remained committed not only to the nation state of Pakistan, but has also been has a very strong commitment to his friends and mentors throughout the life, which has been a hallmark because I know him. Let me now request the former Prime Minister of Pakistan, Mr. Shahid Khaqan Abbasi, to grace this podium.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's a privilege to be here. And Sheikh Nahyan called Ikram Saab brother. I generally call him uncle because I inherited him. I inherited the relationship through my uncle with whom Ikram Saab served in East Pakistan and in West Pakistan. And they held each other in great esteem. And they always talked about their tales as soldiers. And I often read Ikram Saab's articles in which he had mentioned some of the things that they had experienced. So Ikram Saab is a witness to history. And it's been a turbulent history in the last 40, 45 years. And I think he's done us all a service by printing his articles in the shape of a collection of books. But I also feel he's a brave man because most of the things that you write in articles often come out to be not very factual. And the analysis generally turns out to be wrong. So I think he's taken a lot of courage to publish the books and give us a view of history. He's been a witness to history himself. So it's, I think, a rare view into the history of this period and how it was thought of at that time, how it was analyzed at that time. And with hindsight, we can look back and we can see where the mistakes were made. And I also say it takes a lot of courage to write these articles because we're a unique country in the sense that what you read is generally not the reality. The reality is often invisible, and it mostly comes out through articles later in history on what happened at that particular period. So Ikram Saab has taken what he wrote about issues in the current period, and he's had the courage to publish them. So I think it does provide a great sense of what is happening in those periods. And if I looked at the books correctly, I think they're also collected by the subject matter that he wrote on. I always have read his articles over the years, and they've been a source of information for me. I completely disagree with his political views, but I disagree with his analysis. I think he always presents an alternate viewpoint, at least to what I've thought about a particular subject. And that is how we all learn and we all progress. So I'm very grateful to Ikram Saab for taking this initiative. And I think it's probably the the most beautifully bound set of books that I own. So I'm grateful to him for that.
Let me now call my lifelong intellectual mentor, Senator Mushahid Hussain, who's chairman of the Senate Defense Committee and is a subject of these writings. You know, there are many columns about you.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon. It's a great pleasure and privilege for me to be here at the launching of, what should I call them? I have in my library the collected works of Lenin and the selected works of Chairman Mao. So your 12 volumes, Ikram, qualify as what, should I call you Major Sehgal or Chairman Sehgal, because you're chairman of the Pathfinder group also. But anyway, Chairman Sehgal's selected works. Since today is August 5th, the second anniversary of the Black Day in occupied Kashmir, 2 years ago when Narendra Modi annexed and illegally occupied Kashmir. Kashmiri was already in the occupation, but it was annexed also. So I'll start with your article, which you wrote last year, and which is in your selected works. It's called, and it's very aptly called, Kashmiri Lives Also Matter. This was written on 17th of July last year. It was published in the Daily Times, and it's a take on the Black Lives Matter movement, which was then at its peak, and which cost Trump his presidency, I think, largely apart from COVID. So Kashmiri Lives Also Matter is among a series of articles which Ikram has written to express solidarity with Kashmiri people, because today is the Black Day of our Kashmir, and he mentions how this action of Modi is going to unleash a series of events, including repercussions in the region. And he has been proven right, because he writes in that article that it will lead to worsening of relations, not just with Pakistan, but also with China. And you can see that with China, there have been two major clashes between the Indian military and the Chinese People's Liberation Army for the first time in about 40 years. And that was because of the provocation. Ikram also mentions in this article, Kashmiri Lives Also Matter, which was published on 17th of July last year in the Daily Times, that 25,000 domiciles have been issued by the Narendra Modi government in occupied Kashmir to facilitate an influx of outsiders in violation of their own laws. I'd like just to update you on that information that as of now, 2 years later, 3.8 million domiciles have been issued. 3.8 million, with 1.2 million new names added to the voters list. So what you alluded to rightly in your article a year or so ago is unfortunately proven to be correct, that there is an attempt to transform a majority into a minority through demographic transformation. So, and I think that he came back with a thumbs up. I'm sure you must have met Sheikh Mubarak and other people in royalty, and he gave a very positive message, because we were expecting that once we test, we'll have sanctions from the West, and we'll need support from our Muslim brothers, which we got from UAE, from Saudi Arabia, and from others. One thing about Ikram is that he toyed with the idea of mixing his drinks, being close to politicians, but maybe joining politics. And I used to joke, Ikram, you're giving senatorial looks. But then he never took the plunge. So he has been close to power, but and especially the corridors of power, but never actually joined power formally. And I'm glad that as a result, we have a powerful pen of an independent individual who still has the courage to speak truth to power. So more power to his pen, and good luck for the future, and I wish you good health for the future also. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Ikram Saab has always been holding his friends and mentors close to him. Lieutenant General Ali Quli Khan is a lifelong friend to Ikram Sehgal Saab, President of the Gandhara Nissan and several other industries, former Chief of the General Staff and Co-Commander, the Army, former Chairman, Veteran of Pakistan Limited. I request General Ali Quli Khan to come in grace and give his comments. Thank you.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor to be here to talk about my very dear friend and brother Ikram. Somewhere I had read that I should keep my talk limited to 5 minutes. I regret to inform you that I will certainly overshoot that. But nothing to worry, I won't go more than 5 minutes extra. But 5 minutes for me to encapsulate a friend's lifetime with whom I have great camaraderie and respect is not possible. Recently reading or trying to understand the Quran, I came across that the two absolutely unforgivable sins that exist are, one is someone who shows disrespect to our Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. That man or person may have had a room full of good to his name, but the moment he or she shows any disrespect to Prophet Muhammad, everything goes poof, gone, wasted. The second very important and very serious sin is being disrespectful to your parents. Similarly, as I said, for respect to the Prophet, if anybody is even in his mind disrespectful to his parents, poof, it's gone again. You might be the best man, but it comes back to zero. I'll talk a little about Ikram's parents because it's important to do that. And Ikram's father, as you know, belonged to Sialkot, the city of our poet Allama Iqbal. And his dear wife, Ikram's mother, belonged to Bogra, to a very respectable family. Fort was East Pakistan. Bogra still exists. This marriage of Colonel Majid Sehgal and his wife Banu Sehgal was a sort of an ideal sort of an arrangement because it, as I said, joined both East and West Pakistan. And Colonel Ikram's father, Colonel Majid Sehgal, belonged to 19 Punjab, a very celebrated battalion of the Pakistan Army. Then he was moved to raise two East Bengal, who are known as Junior Tigers. And he did that very successfully. And of course, his wife was beside him in all these tasks and played a very, very important role. Ikram, like his father, started his military career in East Bengal, where he grew up as his father was raising this battalion. And he was known as Chand Baba because he was the battalion's baby who grew up. And of course, in 71, Ikram, I beg your pardon, in 1970 or maybe a little earlier, Ikram and I were thrown into the same army unit, which is the 4th Army Aviation Squadron. We were both helicopter pilots, and although we came from different schools, Ikram belongs to this very famous school which has a strong representation here, called Ghoda Gali or Lawrence College. Hsonians and Gallians get along famously. I am saying this, as I said, on record. The services of GG to the armed forces of Pakistan far exceed those of HSN. So I think well done, GG, and coming this coming from a Hsonian needs to be. And one last word which I'll just mention. Ikram's, as I said, his people reading his things were very wide. Ikram's father would have been 100 this year. My father If he had been alive, he would be probably 107, 108. But he died in 1994, December. And while we were getting his papers in place, alone we came across this big thada of newspaper cuttings. So I looked at it. What were they? They were all articles of Ikram, which my father had studiously, dutifully cut them out and kept them. So he spread from his generation to my father's generation, and of course to the younger generation. Ikram, I wish you all the best, and it's a great honor to have you as my friend and brother. God bless you. Thank you.
So the gentleman I'm going to call Dr. Syed Kaleem Imam. He's now the Inspector General Motorway and Highway Police. He has remained Inspector General of Islamabad Police. He's a lifelong student, unlike most police officers. You know, completing his education a few years ago, he completed his doctorate as well. So a very warm welcome here.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. You see, I'm carrying this file over here and a pen over here because my teacher taught me that whatever you do, look like a student and you should always be carrying something. I am one of the product of Mr. Ikram Sehgal, and I have been following him for years and years during the time when I was doing my CSS and my studies in my formative years. When Mr. Ikram called me and said that I'm going to launch a book, I was very pleased and I said, count me in. I want to be part of it. When I see Mr. Ikram Sehgal, I believe he has been able to say what many of us don't. He believed that the right things bring hope and a reason of change. His thoughts have been translated into writings. Many of us don't do that. In fact, he was born to tell. He believed that a life and to live a life to make a difference. His heart saw what was invisible to eye. I'm so proud to be here and being a student of Mr. Ikram Sehgal. I wish you all the best, sir. Heartiest congratulations, a great day, and keep writing. There are a lot of us out there who are following, listening to your voice, and God bless you, God bless your family. My prayers and sincere wishes. Pakistan Zindabad.
Thank you. The gentleman doesn't need any introduction in Pakistan. I have the privilege of inviting Pakistan's former Federal Minister for Foreign Affairs and Finance, Mr. Sartaj Aziz Saab, here to the rostrum to express his comments. Sartaj Aziz Saab, my privilege.
Distinguished members of the panel, Mr. Ikram Sehgal, his family. May I also join other speakers in congratulating and complimenting Ikram Sehgal for publishing such a magnificent and valuable collection of his articles that were published between 1985 and 2020. Each volume, as you've just heard, has a very fascinating, almost seductive title, which itself intrigues you to go and try to read it. The first one is called Leave the Army Alone. The second one says, Converting Garbage into Dreams, The Wages of Truth, Till Death Do Us Apart, not death, but death, D-E-P-T, Power Play, Passage to Nowhere, The Gathering Storm, The Years of Darkness, Marriott Can Be a Disqualification, A State of Hypocrisy, Light at the End of the Tunnel, Challenging Pakistan's Destiny. If you read the prefaces of each volume, you will see the logic and the rationale behind these interesting titles. As I said, as you just heard, it is almost 2,000 articles of a very large number of pages. As I said in the foreword to the second volume, in my long career, I have never seen any other columnist who matches his prolific capacity to write so many articles on such a wide range of subjects for such a long period of time. The formal Chronicle, of course, covers all important aspects, but in my view, especially important and of more lasting value are the articles on Pakistan foreign and security policy and its geostrategic and geopolitical relations with other countries. Because other articles may have topical value of the issues of the day, but these values record history, which I think many researchers, historians, policymakers, students will find a valuable source of reference material. I first met Ikram Sehgal in 1985. He had come to see after his retirement from the army, he started the Pathfinders group to provide security and IT services. And you can see why, because in security services, you can call upon all the retired personnel of the army to come and help you. And so that's a natural thing for a retired army officer to do. But the way he managed it and looked after his staff, it became a very major company. So I saw at first hand this group grow into a diversified business empire. So this also is quite remarkable for an army officer to achieve that result. I think before concluding, I'd like to refer to his human quality of his abiding respect and love for his family, his ex-army colleagues and his close friends. And this is very, very visible in all the dedications that he has given, with the warmth and the respect with which he refers to them. This is a quality that is dwindling in Pakistan. And I think his commitment to the circle of people he belongs, and that is the humanity in him that actually is behind much of his success. So thank you, Ikram, for publishing such a magnificent collection.
And the next message is from, as you heard, as many of you know, and as Sardar Aziz Sahab also mentioned, that Ikram Sehgal Sahab was one of the founding members, the initial members of the World Economic Forum, which is generally known as the Davos in Switzerland. And he has been for the past 20 years raising Pakistan flag. He's been organizing meetings, the breakfast meeting with key Pakistani leaders. The Prime Minister Imran Khan, when he was even the opposition leader, Prime Minister Nawaz, President Musharraf, they've all been participating in the Davos courtesy Pathfinder Group and Ikram Sehgal Sahab. And here is a message from Borj Brende, the President of the World Economic Forum. The message, please.
Dear Ikram, the launch of a personal chronicle of Pakistan is a momentous day for you as a writer. It's also an opportunity for all of us to reflect on the defining period of Pakistan's history as seen from your privileged vantage point. I say privileged not because you have lived an easy life. In fact, judging by another one of your books, Escape from Oblivion, even in the short span of your youth, you appear to have lived several very challenging lives. The important thing, however, is not only did you survive each period of struggle, but thanks to your principled determination, you were able to flourish in each distinct chapter of your life. No doubt, you had to make difficult choices. Whether or not to risk your life in a daring escape from a prisoner of war camp, whether or not to move on from army, which was such an integral part of your identity, whether or not to leave a secure profession as a commercial pilot to set up your own business, whether or not to enter the fray of Pakistani public life with the publication of your first column. The silver thread linking your escape from a prisoner of war camp to the launch of these 12 volumes today is your commitment to doing something meaningful with the life that we have all been given. This commitment of yours naturally extended to a desire for your country of birth to develop a meaningful economic and diplomatic role for itself in the region and the world. leading to your long-standing engagement with the World Economic Forum. For several years, recently also with your son, Sarar, you have flown the flag of Pakistan at the forum's annual meeting in Davos, doing your part to make sure that the business community and the government is properly represented alongside other nations. Behind your writing is a desire to see Pakistan's potential fulfilled, both by courageously pointing out what does not work and by having the vision to identify new opportunities for its development. And Pakistan has many opportunities. As such, these volumes are a gift to the next generation who would do well to follow your principled example in both business and public life. Dear Ikram, my sincere congratulations on the launch of these 12 volumes. Also my congratulations and full respect for what you have achieved both in business and in public life. And even more important, for standing up for important values in your country and globally.
I will request Ikram Sehgal Sahab to come himself and give his commentary as to how he saw this initiative. Big applause for him.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I think the first item should be to thank all those people who made these volumes possible. And one has to start with one's family. And what better to start off with my own wife, Shahnaz Sehgal. I think she's been, if I use the word patient, that would be an understatement. She's been very patient while I've been writing, and I am grateful to her because when I left the army and I had no money, and that day I told about the gentleman that I came from Balochistan to Karachi, and this canteen contractor, he gave me 600 rupees from Naushera. He came that day to the presentation in the Prime Minister's house, Hayat. And I came and told her that I'm out of the army. I have no job. And now actually one feels isolated, desolate. And I think I must thank her for being with me through all these years. And of course, not to forget my son, Zarar, who actually is more of a friend than a son. And I've been very lucky to have a son like him. Exceeded all my expectations, a better version of his grandfather, who was far more accomplished than me. My father, who would have been 100 years old, who died in fact on August 13, 1983. Zarar has done exceptionally well. He has, not been clouded by what we do in Pakistan in our feudal society, that you're a son's son. He's achieved in the United States what many cannot even dream about. Been acclaimed by the New York Times as voted among the fellow lawyers as the best lawyer in the United States in his own discipline. And lucky also that in getting a daughter-in-law, I actually got a daughter, and Masood Sharif lost a daughter. And Kashmala has been a source of strength, not only to Zarar, but to produce one of the finest grandchildren that one can ever hope for. And I took them up yesterday to a place in a ridge, and I told them about a school, inshallah, that we'll be building. And I gave each of them, Amani, Elena, and Suleiman, responsibility of making that school successful. And why? Let me tell you, on the roads, I showed them all these children walking to school. And I told them they all walk to school, but there's nothing to hope for what is taught to them in those schools. And I'm grateful to Brigadier Mujahid Alam, who's here in Lawrence College, and all the students of Lawrence College, which I requested for especially, that Mujahid said we should declare it a sub-campus of Lawrence College. And we are going to have at least 1,000 boys and girls studying that. We're going to have coasters going up and down, making sure that those boys and girls go to school. And of course, not to forget my daughters, Haya, who unfortunately will not be here. She's in quarantine. Wonderful artist. She did terrific well, got a lot of acclaims as an artist, turned into a writer, and now is acclaimed writer. She certainly writes better than me. And actually today she's in quarantine because some restrictions on the job that she's doing, so she couldn't be here. And Nefa, who's here. And Nefa never ceases to amaze me because whatever she does wonderfully well. The only problem is she only does it for 2 years, then moves on. But she does it very well. There's no doubt about it, whether it's music, whether it's creating art, leather works, whether it's doing something else. The ultimate thing was that I wanted to launch it on 17 July, and 29 June it started going into print in a place in Lahore called Topical Printers, and that was amazing. That was Pakistan's expertise at its best. They produced these volumes in those days. They said we will deliver it to you on 15th of July at 4 o'clock, and they did that. And they did that, and the quality of the work that you see was totally amazing to me. This was done with a lot of passion, and that is what Pakistan is at its best. That is what you just give us the right leadership. Just give us the right leadership, and we can do anything, right? I am really, they're not here, unfortunately. Fortunately, they're going through a marriage, both Nasir Baloch and, Farhana, so they're not here, but I invited them to come. But then let me tell you about the driver and the two vehicles that came all the way from Lahore. Started at 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock, they had loaded it. They got caught in a traffic jam like Satai Sahib did today. And 8 o'clock they were out of Lahore. And this man, I rang him up at about 12 o'clock and I said, take some rest. He said, I will take rest at Sakkar. I found him at Moro the next time I talked to him. I said, what are you doing? He said, sir, I'm resting. No, he was supposed to get in at 6 o'clock in the afternoon on the 16th of July. He made it at 2 o'clock. That was the dedication of my drivers of my company. Whatever I am today, I'm the sum of those blue-collar workers combined with the best of the armed forces, which Satai Sahib referred to. You can really get the best out of them. You just have to give them the right leadership. You have to give them to make sure they have a comfort level, to make sure their welfare is looked after. Then I've said about Bir Taj that, actually people do not know he saved Pakistan that day. People belittle it. He saved Pakistan that day because that day was a crucial day. And Shahid, he was a young uncle, but I really, really salute him. And when I went, I was late for his funeral. I went 2 days later. I was stunned by the fact that everybody knew about me, did not know about his sons so much that knew about me, because he would keep on talking about me, keep on defending me wherever, and I had many detractors and this thing. And one of the biggest detractions was when I stood first in the captain to major promotion exam out of 3,500 officers in 1973, despite my wife's dire prediction that I would fail. He said when I stood first and 600 passed, and I was very happy, and I was fighting. I took a helicopter. We were separately, took the results, and he told me, he says, bloody fool, why did you stand first? I said, what's wrong? He said, in this country, merit is a disqualifier. They'll throw you out because you stood first. So I decided not to do the staff college entrance exam. General Iqbal, who was the DMI before that, forced me, said, you will appear. I appeared in the staff college. 300 appeared, 30 passed. I will not name some people who failed. because General Ali Kuli, I know some of his friends failed in that exam, but they got to the staff college anyhow on the fair because they had to make 100 people. But you know, that is the type of stuff that that Brigadier Basi was made of. And you should always be proud of belonging to such a clan, Shahid, and belonging to such a man, being your uncle. Like your esteemed father, you is no less, let me tell you. Mushahid, what can one say? You know, we've been friends, and Mushahid loves our dal, langar ka dal. He would come and have a langar ka dal from time to time. We said, I'm coming, and we would come in. And we discussed many things. And I would think that, you know, when I wrote that thing about ethical or unethical, how true it was. And it was coming from the heart. He was running an ethical campaign, and Hussain Haqqani was running an ethical campaign. And see what he did, what he's done to this country. Right? Actually, Ambassador Azaz has gone away, I think. He had such a tough time retrieving Pakistan's position because what Hussain Haqqani has done, irretrievable damage to Pakistan. Mushahid was always there standing up as a consul. And we shared many things, like Mushahid mentioned some of the incidents. But you know, one thing he has not mentioned, and that was that one of the conversations we had at that lunch was, who will be the next Chief of Army Staff? And I had only one choice, and it was General Ali Kuli. And I said, and Nawaz Sharif was, you know, skeptical. Not because of General Ali Kuli himself, but because General Ali Kuli's family, you know, his Saifullahs were there, and his own family, he was, you know, rich. He was a soldier. So, I'm sorry to say this, but Mia Saab used to go for factory managers, not chiefs of army staff. So they used to choose, you know, if there's a good factory manager, he'll listen to me. That thing he said. I told him, I think in his presence, I told him, I said, this man will never do a coup d'etat. He will never do a coup d'etat. I said, the word power play is taken from a movie called Power Play. General Musharraf took that to the book, that thing. It was a movie which said a person went, you know, he used to pose a drunkard, womanizer, and this, that, and the other. And the person said, this chap is very tough. Let's not have him Chief of Army Staff. Let's have this man. He's all right. General Musharraf used to go to Lahore. My friend, General Ikram, was the corps commander, used to go and tell him, sir, what are you doing? You're in the contender for run. No, Ikram, I'm all right. He was actually giving a signal out that I'm all right. I can be, you know, malleable. And he used to go and, you know, sit there and this thing. So the power play worked. And I think Pakistan's destiny turned the day General Ali Kuli was not made the Chief of Army Staff and General Musharraf was made the Chief. General Musharraf was a very good professional soldier. Do not mistake it. He was also a very brave professional soldier. Do not mistake it. Unfortunately, he had never been in combat. And unless you have been in combat, you really do not know the men from the boys. Until the sound of a bullet goes past your ear, cracks past your ear, you will not know what is the difference. And you know, we have today, whatever we have to thank him, he did good work. In first 3 years, he did very good work. But the NRO was the blackest law ever in the history of Pakistan. He legitimized criminality. And what did we get? We got what we got afterwards. And you know, unfortunately, things changed. I was very fond of Mia Nawaz Sharif. I say it openly. I used to absolutely support him. I supported him. Mia Nawaz Sharif doesn't know it. Because of him, I went into great trouble with the PPP. One of them was that my company was actually labelled, and the thing, my NOC was cancelled, actually labelled. And then I had somebody go, Makhdum Ali Khan Sahab went and got a stay order against that, and that is how my company functioned. I asked Makhdum Ali Khan the other day, I said, you got the stay order for me in 1994, and you're not still doing it. He said, just let it be. Anytime they move against you, 26, 27 years later, we said, there is a stay order. Right? So, income tax, this thing, that thing, I suffered considerably with him. But I made one great problem with Abaji. That was when he did not select Sartaji Saab as the President of Pakistan. Did the same mistake. You know, I said, here is a man who is expert in agriculture, expert in finance, expert in foreign affairs, integrity beyond question, dedicated, committed, right? And you know, this is, what are you doing? So I wrote this article. And it's on the books, right? But then the last straw was the storming of the Supreme Court. And I told him, I said, I didn't vote for you or Abaji. I didn't vote for you to storm the Supreme Court, to do Bhangra in Supreme Court room number 1. And I said, I did not vote for Abaji, I voted for you. So don't let Abaji dictate your presidents. That's a mistake. The man had so much to give to this country. Actually, Sataji has said it. Between 1993, what Pakistan achieved, India copied totally. You ask Sataji Sahib. Manmohan Singh asked him, give me this thing, and I'm saying, unfortunately, Sataji Sahib gave him a whole, blue pen, which India copied to the rest, and you see what the result is today, right? So, you had a person who could give so much to this country, right? I like Shahbaz Sharif very much. He does a lot of good work. But doing good work and doing work for yourself, there's a difference. And of course, not the least, my friend Kaleem. I'm a great fan of a belief that if a police does their job, the country will progress. And unfortunately, police was not doing its job in Karachi, despite the fact the rangers were there. And it's not doing its job because the political things that were happening, political, this thing, SOHs were posting out. IG Kaleem stood his ground. He stood his ground in the face of such adversity. He had such courage that it was clearly apparent. He created a team of good professionals. Today, that momentum is going on in the Sindh police. Sindh police was the worst police, and today, let me say that in the rural areas, it is still bad. But Karachi and the cities where he could make that happen, things were happening. And therefore, I was very much taken in, and I said that, this is somebody to look at and be proud of. And so I was very proud of you. To me, it does not matter to which political party the person belongs to. To me, the individual matters. What he can achieve for Pakistan matters. What he can do for Pakistan matters, right? What a tremendous country we have. I said it that day and I said it today. Second largest copper and gold reserves in the world. Third largest, third largest coal reserves in the world. Fourth largest cotton and cotton industry in the world. Fifth largest milk producing country in the world. Sixth largest rice producing country in the world. Seventh largest wheat producing country in the world. And we have produced a nuclear bomb, we have the know-how to deliver it, we have tremendous this thing. And yet, a country that can feed itself, which can clothe itself, is going nowhere because of the lack of leadership, and that lack because we have a feudal mindset. And in a feudal mindset, you have this thing. People who, that thing, one of the great things about Sataji Sahib and Shahid Khaqan Abbasi is they've never left their party. But if you find every cabinet has these Juma Janjnal people. They join you've seen them. I have not been to the Prime Minister's house, I went after 23 years. But they've been in every cabinet. They were 90, whether they were in 2003 with Jan Musharraf, then with Azur Zardari, then with the P. Millen cabinet, every cabinet, the same people, that thing, etc. What loyalty do they have? They don't have loyalty. If they don't have loyalty to one leader, or maybe chalo, you can change, you can have a different opinion, go to another party. They keep on changing parties just to stay that thing. So I think Imran will be a great leader, is a great leader, and I sincerely hope that he succeeds for the sake of Pakistan. But he has to do something about the people around him, the people to whom only it matters, not the thing, but for the self-serving people. They only think about themselves, do not think about the country. They must think about the country. So, I will say this to you in the end, that I'm very grateful to all of you, the speakers. I'm very grateful to all the people who have come. We had planned for about 150. I know that there are more than 200 in the room, which is a very, for me, It's a great honor and privilege to have you. I know we've gone past our time and we've done things, but I thank you with my bottom of my heart. Thanks to everybody.